we'll have a better idea next week and the following week how listings are coming.
Wealth HQ, empowering you to take charge of your financial life.
In response to the cut in the official cash rate, the First Lady of Real Estate joins us. You've seen Emma Duncan discussing the housing market on TVNZ 1 News. Ray White ranks Emma as chairman's elite, meaning she is in the top 1% across Australasia. She is based in Auckland's Mount Albert, but sells houses all across the city. Emma, how did the 25 basis point drop last time affect the housing market?
Well, the housing market is always at the hands of the media. So once we get some really good publicity for the housing market or interest rate cuts, suddenly that weekend you get the flow-on effect and you see more numbers out at open homes and sort of like a little bit of panic or, okay, the market's at the bottom, we've got to get something now before it goes up, sort of that sort of mentality. So we notice an increase of activity for sure. We've got a few of our older stock that we were having trouble getting away. They're all under contract or sold now. You know, so one of our properties we've had on the market for 2 years. A little bit of it was a pricing issue, but it just wasn't a desirable property for most. Under contract, and then another under contract, sold. So yeah, all of our older stock is moving.
How do you expect a 50 basis point cut is going to affect this market?
Yeah, more activity, definitely. Will we see price rises? It comes down to interest rates. What do you think they'll be sitting in at?
Traditionally speaking, when the OCR come down, we might not immediately see a cut in the bank because a major proportion of our lending is from overseas.
Yeah.
So we're a price taker in terms of interest rate. What we have seen, though, when OCR drops, we see a massive sentiment change. So there are a lot more activities. People are feeling pumped, like, things are going to go well. So definitely last quarter, we saw one of our biggest quarter. I think there are multiple factors to
activity.
Yeah, definitely. Coming back to activities.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed as well, though, is I jumped onto One Roof this morning and I saw, and Trade Me, and I saw in my area where my office is, the latest listing was on the 2nd of October. So that indicates to me that people are sitting and waiting, if you're thinking of selling, for these announcements. So you might also then see more listings come on because of the announcement. And then you have supply and demand issue because that always affects the market. If you've got more demand than supply, you see prices rise. At the moment, there's very little like quality family homes available. So then you might see a flow-on effect where pricing may go up. But if you see everyone's sitting waiting for these announcements, then you might see more supply, then demand goes down, and then the prices can be impacted. 34% of houses this year have been withdrawn from the market because the prices aren't there, and that's across New Zealand, but something to think about.
In last week's Hero, Peter Thompson said the listings were down and it's unusual for September. What do you see of this?
I completely agree. Listings, and again, listings is very broad because you can have apartments, you can have units, townhouses, houses. So when you look at statistics like that, how do you break that down even further to get a good gauge? So yeah, I think listings definitely are down. Appraisals are down. To our photographer, not as busy. Home stages, not as busy. And for this time of year, you have the school holidays, and then suddenly it's that season for now to December for the end of the year. You know, people want to be sold and bought for school zones or close the deal for this year. That was their goal. So usually it is the time to put your houses on the market. we're about 1 week short because we're in the middle of school holidays at the moment. So we'll have a better idea next week and the following week how listings are coming. But I think one ref actually sent me some stats, 37% increase in agent inquiry, which means people are thinking about selling and getting ready to talk to agents and things like that. So, yeah, I think definitely listings are down. Will that change in the next couple of weeks as people near the end of the year and trying to get their property sold or buy before that December date?
So, Emma, when it comes to appraisal, what are you seeing the difference between this year versus last year?
I think it's definitely quieter than usual. And I think people are predicting house prices will be better next year. Tony Alexander's predicted that.
Right now, at September, end of September, start of October now, we are in the low point of the house price cycle on average. And from here, the prices will start to rise, but not necessarily rapidly.
Lots of economists have been thinking this. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, when it comes to prices, it's about interest rate and affordability. Yeah. And if interest rate comes down, just like you said, we tend to see prices go up.
So I think if you was going to be selling, people are probably thinking, we're close to the end of the year now anyway, let's try for next year, early next year. I think the supply will be better next year.
Do you see a massive squeeze in January, February listings coming up?
January, not so much. I never recommend people sell in January if they can avoid it. Inquiry diminishes. You lose your buyer pool of, say, 50 people to 20 because 30 people are away on holiday. So usually once the long weekends are finished in February, that's when you'll see the majority of listings come out. You will start to see them once the law firms are back open and brokers are back from holidays. But mid-Jan, you'll start seeing an uptake. But the majority will wait until everyone's done and dusted with their summer break.
So when do you anticipate the busiest time in the earliest first 6 months?
So it should start picking up now. But as I said, if you're thinking of selling and the media is saying next year, and I think we're so close to that time now that I think you will see more choice next year. And then usually that just keeps on going until, nearing winter. Then listings naturally sort of do dissipate over those winter months because people always think it's better to sell your house in better weather.
True. And what sort of prices are you seeing vendor getting at the moment?
I haven't noticed an increase in house pricing so much. It's more activity and more demand and more desire to secure a property. And I think there is a generalized thought out there from buyers that we need to buy now because they think prices are going to go up next year. So there is sort of like a deadline for people to get on. Do you notice that from your clientele? Or?
Yeah, I would say last quarter we just saw a whole lot of people sending sales and purchase come through. Actually, the sales and purchase, not just the applications.
Deals, yeah.
But we definitely have seen like a bit of a slow down to see what's going to happen with the next OCR.
Yeah.
So you're definitely getting more of a wave, right?
Yeah.
So,
and this last couple of years has been waves. We're in a time where usual real estate patterns and trends are no longer, and we're at sort of the realms of global factors and announcements and I've been seeing waves for a couple of years now. You might have a couple of really busy weeks and then for some reason it's quiet again, and I think you might feel like you said you saw a lot of sale and purchase agreements come through and then there might be another moment where people thinking, we might just stay put and wait till next year.
Yeah, and they always say real estate agents don't make the price, the buyers do. How accurate do you see your appraisals at the moment?
We never really know until we launch a property and test the market. When we appraise a house, we are in there, for 30 minutes to an hour. So we go off your latest sales to kind of come up with a price. We never know until real time when a property is listed how it's going to sit, and the things that buyers might consider that we might not have. So mine, I like to think, are quite accurate. I'm probably more on the conservative side because I think it's better to be in this time. But yeah, buyers do determine the price, but the vendor ultimately does because they will or won't sell at that level. So you need both people to be on the same team or agree on a price to get a sale. So a buyer can be here, a seller can be here, and then you can either each away at it and meet in the middle, or a buyer might walk, but a new one will come. And eventually someone does pay the vendor's price, but the time it takes to get there is the variable we don't know.
What are you seeing as the main motivation for vendors selling right now?
Main motivation for sale, it varies from house to house. So probably anyone with an investment property has been the difference in interest rates. So any investor selling, that's usually the number one reason. Servicing, the interest rates might have been at 3%. Now they're at 6.8 or something. It's a big difference to your week. Plus the cost of living changes, prices of everything have gone up. So there's a squeeze there. Another motivation might be schooling. So especially at this time of the year, you might, when you bought your house, have a baby, and then suddenly they're 4 and you look around and there's no school nearby that is suitable. So then you've got to sell to get into the right schooling area. So where I work, a lot of schooling plays a huge factor in a reason to buy or sell. Other people, divorce, I think there's always people that follow the market, even though a speculator, that even though they're not doing anything, they love property. New Zealand loves property. That's why we all came here. Our ancestors, we love real estate. We're really passionate about it. And everyone is pretty invested in it. So yeah, you'll always have people just keeping an eye, and then they weren't really looking, and then boom, they've seen something, give it a go. People always need to upsize, downsize, sidestep, like all sorts.
Yeah, true. And when it comes to selling in this current market, what's the best method that you see? Because we had David Whitburn, a very experienced developer, on recently, and he was talking about how he sees price for negotiation is one of the best methods right now.
And get an agent that's a negotiator, not just a processor that takes deals. And I would make sure that they're holding it to account, not a newbie agent in this market, an experienced agent that is a negotiator.
How do you see?
Well, auction's just one part of a campaign. So you can't judge success of an auction campaign from a 30-minute window. It actually has proven shorter days on market. So I work for Ray White. We do a huge amount of data and analytics, and there is significantly less days on market for an auction property than for sale by negotiation. It's got a deadline for people to work towards, and you invite unconditional interest first, and then if that didn't work on auction, then you invite all interest. So there is proven shorter days on market. By negotiation is also a great method, I think, in price points between $650 to $1.5. Excellent method. A lot of your buyers can't be at auction. So would you run an auction if they can't get to it, Every property is different. If there's flaws with a property, like defective title or unconsented work, auction really needs to be removed because people need to do their due diligence. So there is no rule. it changes per property and who you think the buyer might be.
Emma, when it comes to buyers, are you seeing a trend in terms of what they're looking for in the market right now?
I think buyers want to secure something. I think they, first home buyers in particular, you know, you want to get something now before you think prices might improve. Everyone has different needs and different budgets, and there's no specific.
What's one piece of advice that you would give buyers right now?
Knowledge. Get knowledge. Find an area. Look at the key attributes of the area you're buying in, like infrastructure, school zones. That's you do pay more, but then when you go to resell your property, sometimes you get $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 extra price tag because you're in a certain school zone. So, yeah, look at your surroundings, look at your proximity to the city and your needs, and then once you've figured out location, gain some knowledge, build a great team, get a great broker. Ring us and we can help you with other properties if you want advice, and, build a team around you.
What about vendors? Are you seeing some common mistakes right now in terms of listing a house?
I think with vendors, if you're going to be selling, I would just make sure everything's in order before you list. So you don't want to scramble and suddenly put the house on the market and get the photos taken, order a limb report, and find out something's unconsented. I think just take a little bit more time. Once you think you might be selling, take a little bit more time to do some research on your property. And if there is an issue, we can help you resolve that often. Sometimes this happens all the time. People think they got a consent. They did. They got the consent to do something, did all the work. They just didn't pay for it. So they never got their CCC, but they thought they had. Happens all the time. So if we know that, we can work through it and then launch a property, and it can be available to buy immediately versus launching it, then discovering that there's an issue, and then you've got days on market accruing and interest drops off as that happens. So, if I was thinking of selling, I'd just make sure everything was in order before pushing play.
Emma, if we forget the OCR for a second, how can you know for sure that the market has turned?
Because our oldest stock is selling. So, we've seen a huge uptake in activity, and that's a sign, that the market's improving. Summer's coming, everyone's a little bit happier.
Financial freedom. Financial freedom.
Wealth HQ, empowering you to take charge of your financial life.